Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and today for this session, I'm joined by the mighty Lauren Noding, Head of PR for Titan Comics. How are you, Lauren?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, Andrew. And you?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. Thank you for asking. And we are privileged to be joined by the supremely talented creator of the graphic novel Little Victories, Autism Through a Father's Eyes, Yvon Roy. How are you, Yvon?
I'm very fine, thank you. How are you, Andrew?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Little Victories is being published in the UK by my colleagues at Titan Comics. For this graphic novel, Yvon was the winner of the Disability Fund and Society Award for Best Biography. He wrote and illustrated. And to start off with, Yvon, I wonder if you could tell us what Little Victories is about, please.
Well, it's all about the relationship I established with my son after the diagnosis of his autism. It's all about how I faced it, how I came to terms with the diagnosis, and how I got in action, how I got creative afterward. Well, I did that book so parents wouldn't be as much left alone as I was when it happened to us, the mother and I, so they could relate to an easy to read book, because usually books that we get to read are quite complicated, and so I wanted something lighter.
Yes,
I wanted, you know.
Now it's interesting that you mentioned that, something lighter, which I think is very important. You speak about going through a period of darkness where you felt swallowed by the pressure and the fear of the autism diagnosis. I know it's a very important part of the acceptance process that many parents in your situation relate to. What advice would you offer parents facing a new diagnosis of this nature?
First thing to do is to come to terms with the reality, accept it, and then learn to love it. Learn not only to accept, it's not about only acceptance, it's about loving it. It's about getting on board. And it's it took me quite a while to forget about all I had planned and for my son, all my hopes and dreams, because we all have them. Even people say, oh, I don't have any hopes. Oh, please. We all have them. It's inside of us. You have to get rid of everything, make a clean slate for your kid. And then you can have, you can educate, you can give the kid his best chance to develop his potentials. But as long as you don't come to terms with the reality, as long as you refuse it, the kid will feel it. They feel everything. Okay, they will feel that, he will feel that for you, he represents sorrow, he represents sadness, he will feel everything. So as long as you don't get rid of all that, you will not be efficient with your kid. You will not work well with him.
I think that's interesting and very well said. Lauren, I know you have a bunch of questions for Yvon, so over to you.
So you've also illustrated this graphic novel. You've not just written it, which is, bonus points. You've done everything. Did you feel that perhaps only you could represent your relationship with your son? Was that perhaps why you chose to self-illustrate and write, or was it just coincidence?
Well, how I came to do this book, some people, including specialists, told me, you should tell your story, because it's everything is so new in autism and our neurodiversity. So you need to tell your story. And I looked at my artistic toolbox, and I had everything to do it right. So that was my luck. And for me, facial expressions, I took a long time just to choose the type of drawings that would express the best emotions and make this all very enlightening, So yeah, I thought that it would be best for me to do it all.
Yeah, right on. And in the process of doing it all, and relating your story. One of the things that struck me was that you found many positive methods to help your son, using small games to help him overcome fear of boundaries, for example. I thought some of the ideas that you represent are very clever yet very simple. Is it your hope that these methods will help other parents open their minds to fresh solutions? And how did you come up with those great ideas?
I have to talk a bit about my career first, because I used to illustrate lots of kids' books and school books. So I was constantly reading texts about how you teach kids. So I had like some kind of an advantage because of my job. And usually when you're with a kid, fun has to be involved if you want him to learn something. You need to put a bit of fun. It has to be a game, especially when you're exploring and you're not sure, because you're going to make mistakes, of course, trying those methods and inventing games. I mean, mistakes, you're going to make mistakes, but you need to be creative, explore, and see what's the easiest and funniest way to get from point A to point B. And that's what I did. And of course, many persons and even specialists told me that some of the tricks I showed in the book, they are used right now with other kids in centers, and they're effective. There's this mom that once told me, I tried the trick with the eyes, the game, and my son looked at me in the eyes for the first time. It took 3 days. So yeah, they work, but the point is not to show people what to do. I'd say it's more about become a specialist of your kid's autism. You'll never be a specialist of autism, but you can be a specialist of your kid, and explore, create, have fun.
That is so well said, mate. Lauren.
So, I mean, kind of expanding on that a little bit in, you know, the bond you have with your son, you've included in the graphic novel the moment where Oliver actually is Oliver. Not sure if Oliver's the name of your son in real life.
No, it's not. It's no, it's not.
But I'm assuming,
let's call him Oliver for today.
Yeah, we'll call him Oliver for now. Yeah, it must have been a big moment when Oliver let you hug him for the first time on the camping trip. That must have been such a huge accomplishment feeling. How did you feel about the diagnosis of your son in that moment? Like, did you feel that perhaps it wasn't, you know, it was all worth it, you know?
Well, very interesting question in the way that I guess you need to accept the diagnosis, but there's another word, I don't know how you say it in English, it's prognosis. Is that possible?
Yeah, prognosis, absolutely.
Prognosis. So they tell you what your kid should or will become, considering his abilities and capacities. I said I accept the diagnosis, but I just refused the prognosis. That was my first step. You said my kids will probably never speak, never write, never read. I don't agree with that. I've seen people being told that they're never gonna walk again, and today they're walking. So everything's possible. So when finally he accepted to hug me, and he became such a hugger afterward. He's still hugging me now. He's 6'2", and I hug him like that. You know, it's very funny. And it was. I understood at that time that it was all about trust. Autistic kids have a problem with trust. It's hard to earn their trust. So it took, like, I went around him so slowly. He was having a tantrum and yelling and everything. And slowly I felt him going down. You know, all his energies were going down, and he was beginning to be like all mellow, soft. I don't know how to say it. And that was a big victory, I'd say. That was a big one for me, because being able to touch your kid, it's part of a natural process of love between you and him, and trust between you and him, and you need that in order to go further.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. I mean, the dynamic between yourself and your son, as portrayed in the book, is incredibly heartwarming. So, Yvon, what would you say the biggest struggles have been to overcome in the period of time, you know, dealing with your son's diagnosis and raising your son? What have been the three biggest struggles for you personally?
Well, the first one was accepting the diagnosis, of course. Took me many months, and as I show in the book, I made this whole process of mine to achieve that that acceptance. That was really long and hard, and I had to like really go inside deep. That was one. The second one, I'd say, was the way people look at an autistic kid is different, because they don't know. Sometimes they just feel like he's a spoiled brat because he's making tantrums, because he's not speaking easily, because he's not communicating. And it was really hard sometimes just to deal with the kids coming up to me and say, what's up with your kid? Is he retarded? Say, no, he's as intelligent as you are, but he's different. You know, it's and the look of people sometimes in the shopping mall, and my kid having a tantrum, and dealing with that. And then what I say in the book, it's very important to make a bubble. You're in a bubble with your kid. Don't bother about how people look at you. It's the first thing you gotta, don't care about people looking at you, judging you. They don't know what you're in, what situation you are in. They cannot understand. I've seen too many people acting so people would approve what they were doing. I remember one day I was just playing sport with my kid, and I have a very harsh discipline when I do sport with a kid. It's like, you have your turn, I have my turn. I'm not there to play with you. I am a partner. We're playing together. And so I was very disciplined, and some ladies were looking at me and say, oh, this father is hard, is harsh. But it was very good for my son. And we played sport like we're still playing sport together. I don't have to discipline him anymore. But at the beginning, a kid needs it, So you don't care about people looking at you. And the third one, I'd say, is when I had to accept the medication, because he's got he cannot concentrate very easily. That was a big problem for me when I was a kid too, but there were no medication at that time. And so since I was giving him the best food and the best fish oils for his brain and the best this for that, and then I see medication, chemical shit, so I was really reluctant. But the mother convinced me, say, you have to look for what's best for the kid. If it can just make him happier and more functional in his daily routine, and not being always pushed aside because he's not functional, well, that might make him happier. So we tried it. It made a big difference. I had to accept it and let it go. So that was the third one.
Thanks for sharing that with us. That's very interesting, Yvon. Lauren, we've got time for one more question.
So what would you like readers to take away from this story most of all? What is the most important message that you want readers to take from this?
Well, I'd say start by seeing autism like a new adventure and not a new burden, like a new land to explore, understand, and then get creative. Just get creative and have fun. That's the cornerstone of being an effective parent, I guess.
Yeah, very well said, mate. I think that's a lovely point to end on. And once again, I'm Andrew Sumner. This is the mighty Lauren Noding, and we have had the pleasure of talking to Yvon Roy about his award-winning graphic novel, published in the UK by Titan Comics on the 25th of May, Little Victories, Autism Through a Father's Eyes. And you can order it from the links attached to this interview. And I really recommend that you do. It's a beautiful piece of work. Thanks for sharing that work with us, Yvon, and thanks for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. And Lauren.
Take care.
It was so great to meet
you. Lovely to meet you. All the very best, mate.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.